What's the matter, Billy? Having trouble with your grammar homework? Do you know what will help? It's Mr. Laird's Parts of a Sentence Pyramid Chart. Are you ready to learn? Here we go!
According to the chart, the first thing you need to look for is prepositional phrases. Prep phrases are little snippets of information that add extra detail to a sentence. Every prepositional phrase starts with a preposition. You have a list of common prepositions in your notes. Just look and see if any of these words are in your sentence. Some of them won't always be prepositions, but for now I won't try to trick you. Okay, now that we've looked at our chart, let's try finding some prepositional phrases in our sample sentence. The lamp by the door was purchased in a store. Now, according to your chart, the first word of every prepositional phrase is the preposition itself, hence the name. So all you need to do is look at your list of common prepositions, found in your notes, and see if any of those words match any of the words in the sentence. Do you see any? That's right, by. Any others? Right again, in. Now we're not done yet because all we found is the preposition, and we're looking for the whole prepositional phrase. Now to find the end of the prepositional phrase, you need to find a noun or a pronoun that basically answers the question, what? This noun or pronoun is called the object of the preposition. Now, like I said, to find the object of the preposition, all you need to do is ask the question, what? If you're still struggling to find the overall answer, try asking what one word at a time until you get an answer that makes sense. For instance, by. By what? By the. Well, that doesn't seem to make much sense, so keep going. By the what? By the door. Since that sounds like an answer to the question, you found the end of your prepositional phrase. And door is the noun or object of the preposition. So let's try the other one. In. In what? In a. Again, that doesn't seem to make much sense. So keep going. In a what? In a store. That seems to answer the question, and a good thing too, since it's the last word of our sentence. So there are two prepositional phrases, by the door and in a store. One other thing to remember about prepositional phrases is that they basically act like giant adjectives or giant adverbs. In other words, they add extra but non-essential information to the sentence. And if you were to get rid of them, the sentence should still make sense. So let's try it. The lamp was purchased. Yep, still makes sense. Now it's time to look for the two most important parts of a complete sentence. No, not toast and orange juice. Those are parts of this complete breakfast. I'm talking about the subject and the verb. The subject is the noun or pronoun that serves as the main topic of the sentence and will fall under one of three categories. When someone or something is doing something, when someone or something is having something done to it, or when someone or something is being described. The beauty of these definitions is that they can help us find our verb at the same time. The first two mean we have a type of action verb in our sentence. The last one means we have a linking verb in our sentence. This will be useful information for later. So let's rephrase these as questions to find our subject and verb. Is anyone or anything doing something? For instance, the dog had brought me my newspaper. The dog did something, so the dog is our subject. To find our verb, simply ask two questions. First, what one word tells us the most about what the dog did? Correct, brought. Brought is our main verb. The second question, are there any helping verbs from your list of 23 helping verbs with it? Just in case you forgot what they are, here's a list. See any? Correct again. Had. Had is our helping verb. So again, our subject is dog, and our action verb is had brought. Let's try another sentence. The vase was broken by the boy. Is anyone or anything doing anything? Be careful. Did you say the boy? Boy is the object of the preposition in the phrase by the boy. If you followed your chart, you would have removed this prepositional phrase in the first step. Now do you see anyone or anything doing something? Nope. Getting rid of your prep phrases will always clear up this type of confusion. So if no one is doing anything, let's try our second subject-verb question. Is anyone or anything having something done to it? So back to our sentence. Is anyone or anything having something done to it? That's right, our poor vase. To find our verb, we ask a similar version of the same two questions as last time. First, what one word seems to tell us most about what happened to the vase? Correct. Broken. The second question is the same as before. Are there any of the 23 helping verbs from your list of helping verbs with it? Here's the list again, just in case. See any? Yep. Was. So our subject is the vase, and our action verb is was broken. Well, since we have 3 different types of subjects, you probably already guessed we're going to do one more example. The girl in the front row was happy about her report card. Just like last time, let's get rid of those prep phrases to avoid any confusion. Do you see any? In the front row, and about her report card. Notice how front and report are adjectives here. Row and card are the objects of the preposition. Make sure you look to know when you need to end the prepositional phrase. So let's remove them. The girl was happy. Pretty simple. Let's try our questions. Is anyone or anything doing anything? Nope. Is anyone or anything having something done to it? Another nope. So let's take a look at our last question. Is anyone or anything being described? So what do you think? Is anyone being described in this sentence? The girl is being described. This means we have a linking verb on our hands. Linking verbs link the subject with a word that describes it. Okay, let's stop and take a step back for a moment. At this point, if you notice on the chart breaks into 2 paths when it comes to the verb. Knowing what type of verb you have is just as important as knowing what the verb is. One path covers action verbs, both active and passive, and the other path covers linking verbs. So far, we've learned how to find a subject and an action verb. We haven't talked about how to locate a linking verb yet, but we do know how to tell if we have one, which is all we need to know for right now. Each type of verb takes us down a different path. The left side tells you what to look for if you have an action verb. The right side tells you what to look for if you have a linking verb. Since we were working on linking verbs last, let's keep going. In a sentence with a linking verb, there is only one thing left to find other than the verb, and that's the word that describes the subject. Notice, there are 2 options on the chart. One is called a predicate noun, or nominative. The other is called a predicate adjective. Both are words describing the subject, linked by a linking verb. Can you guess what the only difference is? Yeah, one's a noun and the other's an adjective. Pretty simple, huh? Let's take a look at some examples. In our last sentence, the girl was happy. We found that girl was our subject. What is she being described as? That's right, happy. So we know that happy is a predicate something. All you need to do now is ask, is happy a noun or an adjective? In other words, is happy a person, place, or thing, or is it a descriptive word like fuzzy? Correct. It's an adjective. So happy is a predicate adjective. Now we know our subject girl and our predicate adjective happy. But remember, we never found our linking verb yet. Now would be the time. So what is the link between girl and happy? This example is pretty obvious. Was. So our linking verb is was. If you get a sentence that isn't this obvious, try one of these 3 tricks for finding a linking verb. First, look for any of the 23 helping verbs. Then look for the one word they help. In this sentence, the performer is being described as nervous. See any words from your list of helping verbs? Right. Had. Since performer had nervous doesn't make any sense, what other word is a necessary part of the verb? Correct again. Seemed. Very is just an extra unnecessary adverb. Next, if you find your helping verbs and it doesn't sound like you are missing anything else, it could be because that helping verb you found is actually the main verb and doesn't need anything else. The earlier sentence about the happy girl is a good example. Was can be a helping verb, but in that sentence it stood by itself. Feel free to rewind if you want to take a look. Lastly, if you don't see any words on your helping verb list, take the subject and the predicate noun or adjective and put an equal sign in between. What word can you replace the equal sign with that sounds the least cavemanish? In this sentence, the athlete is being described as tired. Which sounds the least cavemanish? Athlete looked tired or athlete extremely tired? Right. So looked is your linking verb. Let's try a tougher example. The angry gorilla is a wild animal. We have no prep phrases, no one is doing anything, no one's having anything done to it. But gorilla is being described, which means, look out for the linking verb! Sorry, I mean, look out for a linking verb. Gorilla is our subject, but what is it being described as? Careful. Did you say angry? Angry is an adjective describing gorilla, but it's directly connected to gorilla. It didn't need a linking verb. Angry is just a regular adjective. Did you say wild? Wild is an adjective, but it's describing animal, not gorilla. Some of you may be thinking, but gorilla and animal are the same thing. You're right, but not in the way you thought. That's the whole point of this sentence. It's telling us that a gorilla is an animal. Animal is our predicate something. Is animal a person, place, or thing, or is it a descriptive word like fuzzy? Correct. It's an animal, and that's a thing. So it's a predicate noun. Remember, nouns and adjectives only get the special title of predicate noun and predicate adjective when they are linked to the subject by the verb, also known as the predicate, hence the catchy name. Last but not least, what is the linking verb bringing them together? See any words from your list of helping verbs? Correct. Is. Is that word helping anything, or does it stand on its own? Since the other words are adjectives, it stands on its own. Is your linking verb. We have seen the chart from top to bottom on the right side, so let's finish up by checking back in with our friend, the action verb. According to the chart, the next thing you should look for when you have an action verb is a direct object. A direct object is the object directly receiving the action. Again, hence the name. And notice, it's called a direct object. Objects are things, which means direct objects are always nouns or pronouns. To find a direct object, simply add the subject plus the action verb and the question ender, what? Let's revisit our first example sentence from earlier. The dog had brought me my newspaper. We discovered that the dog was doing something, which makes him our subject, and had brought is our action verb. So let's put these things into the equation. Dog plus had brought plus what? Careful. Sometimes our instinct is simply to repeat the next word in the sentence. In this case, me. But is this really what the dog brought? Make sure to think about what the sentence is saying. Don't switch to autopilot. The dog had brought what? Newspaper. The newspaper directly received the action of being brought and is our direct object. Okay, we're almost done. The last thing we need to look for is an indirect object, but only if you found a direct object first. If there is no direct object, you are done with the chart. An indirect object is the object indirectly receiving the action. And again, notice it is an object, which means thing, which means noun or pronoun. To find an indirect object, we simply use this equation. Subject plus action verb plus direct object plus one of these four question endings. To whom, to what, for whom, for what. Try the equation with each of these endings one at a time. If any of them form a question that makes sense and there's an answer, then you found your indirect object. So let's plug in our pieces. Dog plus had brought plus newspaper plus one of our four question endings. And let's start with to whom. Does this question make sense? Sure. Is there an answer? You bet. So to whom did the dog bring the newspaper? Me. Me is your indirect object. I'll leave you with last tidbits of information. First, remember to follow the line on the chart. You can only have direct objects and indirect objects if you have an action verb, and you can only have predicate nouns or predicate adjectives if you have a linking verb. So confirm what type of verb you have before you look for these things. Second, the only two things on this chart you must have are a subject and a verb. Everything else on the chart is optional. So if you can't find a direct object, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It just might not have one. And last but not least, it's possible to have more than one subject or a verb. Make sure you go through the whole chart for each one if you do. Okay, that's it. Good luck on all your homework and tests, and remember, enjoy the rest of the best day of your life. See ya!